Shabda Sahasram
Agnihotram Vakanditam
Agnihotram Vakanditam
Tata.
Tata
Thereafter.
Urdvam
After Mother Sita's going into the earth.
After Mother Sita going into the earth.
Brahmacharyam. Complete celibacy.
Complete celibacy.
Dharayan. Observing. Ajuhot. Performed a ritualistic ceremony and sacrifice. Prabhu. Lord Ramachandra. Trayodadasa Abdashahasram. For 13,000 years.
For 13,000 years.
Agnihotram. The sacrifice known as Agnihotra Yagya.
The sacrifice known as Agnihotra Yagya.
Akanditam. Without ceasing. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking in French. Désolé, je parle pas en français. Je suis pas capable. So, you have to speak in English. Does anybody need translation? Need some translation. Maybe somebody can help. Thank you. So there's no purport to this verse, so I'll read the translation, then I'll read the translation and the purport of the next verse, which is a long purport. So the translation for number 18 is, after Mother Sita entered the earth, Lord Ramachandra observed complete celibacy and performed an uninterrupted Agnihotra Yagya for 13,000 years. And the next verse, after completing the sacrifice, Lord Ramachandra, whose lotus feet was sometimes pierced by thorns when he lived in Dandakaranya, placed those lotus feet in the hearts of those who always think of him. Then he entered his own abode, the Vaikuntha planet, beyond the Brahma Jyoti. Purport. The lotus feet of the Lord are always a subject matter for meditation for devotees. Sometimes when Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest of Dandakaranya, thorns pricked his lotus feet. The devotees, upon thinking of this, would faint. The Lord does not feel pain or pleasure from any action or reaction of this material world. But the devotees cannot tolerate even the pricking of the Lord's lotus feet by a thorn. This was the attitude of the gopis when they thought of Krishna wandering in the forest with pebbles of grains of sand pricking his lotus feet. This tribulation in the heart of a devotee cannot be understood by karmis, jnanis, or yogis. The devotees who cannot tolerate even thinking of the Lord's lotus feet being pricked by a thorn were again put into tribulation by thinking of the Lord's disappearance, for the Lord had to return to his abode after finishing his pastimes in this material world. So I'm going to stop there and make some comments, and then I'm going to read the rest of the purport and make some comments, because the rest of the purport is about the Brahma Jyoti, which is it seems to be a completely different subject matter. So just say the prayers. Bhagavati Swami Namo Shadaya Krishna Sthavi Srimati Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Vanchakalpatriyascha So the lotus feet of the Lord, we worship the lotus feet of Krishna, and we worship the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So every morning, this morning we were singing Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru. So we sang it through twice, as well as at the end of every verse. So this Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda is a Vande, I offer my obeisances, Shri Guru of the lotus feet of the Guru, and Charanaravinda. Charan is feet. Charan literally means moving, so it means the feet. And Aravinda is lotus. So Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda. I offer my obeisances to the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So that's what we're singing every morning. Why the feet? You know? Why? I think maybe the face, or the whole body, or the effulgence, or feet. So the feet means if you're worshipping somebody's feet, it means you're serving them. It's about serving, it's service, you know. You're bowing down to the feet means you're putting yourself in a lowly position. It means you're the servant. We bow down to Prabhupada and we offer petals to his feet. We're taking a submissive position. Srila Prabhupada, I'm hardly fit to offer petals at your feet. You know? I'm hardly fit to offer petals at the feet of someone who offers petals at your feet. You know, you remove it a few more times. It's an acknowledgement of our position when we meditate on the feet. And of course, Krishna's feet, or Prabhupada's lotus feet, we say lotus feet. The lotus is the most beautiful flower that we have in the material world. It's the most beautiful comparison. In French they say, pied pareil au lotus. Lotus means equivalent, equivalent to a lotus. Your feet are equivalent to a lotus feet. Because we consider the feet, normally we consider the feet untouchable, smelly, unattractive, disgusting. We don't want to touch other people's shoes. We would like. In India, they move them with a stick. You know, they have a stick for moving them. Right. But the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, you know, we worship them. It's because they're pure, because they're pure personality. Their feet are pure, and we are taking the position, the very honoured position of being able to serve his lotus feet. So this is the concept. And the Lord's lotus feet are actually very beautiful. He has all these special marks on his feet. Nandini put these pictures of the lotus feet of Krishna on the wall during the festival. Special marks on Krishna's feet. So anyway, the gopis, when they think of Krishna in the forest, they become very disturbed, thinking that Krishna, because he's the cowherd boy, Krishna's a cowherd boy. Gopa Kumar, he has bare feet. That's the tradition of the cowherd boys. They run barefoot. In fact, I imagine all the Brij-Basis. You know, Nanda Maharaj has shoes because he gets Krishna to fetch his shoes for him. So it's not that he's always barefoot. Anyway, sometimes they wear shoes. But Krishna goes to the forest barefoot, and the gopis are worried that there'll be some pricking thorns or some pebbles with sharp edges that will damage his feet. So this meditation causes them pain. So this is not just a meditation on the feet, but it's a literal situation. That's actually how it is. But it shows how concerned they are for Krishna. It shows how they're absolutely so absorbed in Krishna that they're thinking that this might happen. Not that it's happening, but it might happen. The gopis thinking, oh, Krishna's in the forest. There might be some rough-edged pebbles. There might be some thorns. And it's only if. And then they're getting upset thinking that it might happen because they're so attached to Krishna. And the idea of him having a little inconvenience, a little bit of disturbance, of pain in his foot. Actually, Krishna's blissful. He's playing with the cowherd boys, he's with the cows. But the gopis are meditating, and they're very intensely meditating. I'm just going to read a very short part of the Krishna book that describes, Prabhupada describes it better than I do, obviously. Bear with me while I find my Krishna book on the Kindle. Dear Krishna, the gopis continued, you are very cunning. You can imagine how much we are distressed simply by remembering your cunning smile, your pleasing glance. You're walking with us in the forest of Vrindavan and your auspicious meditations. Your talks with us in lonely places were heartwarming. Now we are all aggrieved to remember your behavior. Please save us, dear Krishna. Certainly you know how much we are saddened when you go out of Vrindavan village to tend the cows in the forest, and how we are afflicted simply to think that your soft lotus feet are being pricked by the dry grass and the tiny stones in the forest. We are so attached to you that we simply think of your lotus feet. So Krishna's away from the gopis all day. We know that Krishna dances with the gopis at night, but all day they don't see him, so all day they're thinking, oh Krishna. Meditating on his feet. I'll just read a little bit more because it's nice, and then I'll get back to the matter. Oh Krishna, when you return from the pasturing ground with the animals, we see your face covered by your curly hair, dusted by the hoof dust of the cows. We see your mildly smiling face, and our desire to enjoy you increases. Oh dear Krishna, you are the supreme lover, and you always give shelter to the surrendered souls. You fulfill everyone's desire. Your lotus feet are even worshipped by Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. To whomever worships your lotus feet, you, without a doubt, always bestow your benedictions. So kindly be pleased with us, and keep your lotus feet on our breasts, and thus relieve our distresses. So they want to put Krishna's feet on their breasts because they think, well, our breasts are soft. We'll put Krishna's feet on our breasts, and then we know that Krishna's feet will be comfortable. Such a meditation, huh? Okay. So, the narrative, the verses, is about Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra also had these pastimes in the forest. He was in the Dandakaranya forest, not the Vrindavan forest. Actually, the word Vrindavan means forest. Vam means forest and Vrinda means Tulsi, so Vrindavan means Tulsi forest. But Lord Ramachandra, he was in the Dandakaranya forest, and he was banished to stay in the forest for many years, and he walked barefoot. He wore these clothes made of bark, and he practiced so many austerities in the forest. So again, his devotees would be upset to think of this. When they're meditating on the Lord, they would be thinking. Lord Ramachandra's lotus feet. So now we go on to the more philosophical part of the, apparently more philosophical part of the purport.
Mataji,
Yes,
can I say something
you
about
can,
the
please.
time? One day a devotee said to me that the gopis removed the thorn from the path in the forest for that Krishna don't get hurt by the thorn.
Yeah, but it's nice,
And
huh?
he made the point that Krishna gives us the Bhagavati that in this life it's the same way he removed the thorn of this life because of the knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, and we are protected by this book.
Our lives are full of thorns,
Mm.
and by the purifying philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, the thorns are removed. Yeah. What is the French word for thorn?
Épine.
Épine. Okay. Krishna enlève les épines. Du cœur. Oui.
Yeah.
Du cœur.
De toute la vie matérielle peut-être.
Hey.
Our heart is also, we cannot receive Krishna in the heart, we cannot put his lotus feet in our chest if our chest is a thorn bush.
Yeah. Chop down the thorn bush. So you can get into a whole meditation of how to get rid of the thorns, yeah.
That's why we sing Tulasi in the morning, that she can clean our heart from the thorn, and Krishna is comfortable.
Okay. So now Prabhupada picks up on the word Atmajyotir in the last line of the Sanskrit, not this verse, but the verse 19. So Atmajyotir, Prabhupada says the word Atmajyoti is significant. The Brahmajyoti, which is greatly appreciated by Jnanis or monistic philosophers who desire to enter it for liberation, is nothing but the rays of the Lord's body. So all the effulgence of the Brahmajyoti is coming from the body of the Lord. The Mayavadis say that Krishna is a manifestation of the Brahmajyoti in the mode of goodness. The Brahmajyoti is somehow manifests its form just for the material world. But actually the Brahmajyoti is supreme. But Prabhupada is stating the actual truth, is that the Brahmajyoti is the effulgence of the Lord's body. And he quotes the Brahma Samhita. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagatanda koti koti shvasheshu titadi vasudadi vibhuti vinam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship, that's that translation of that verse. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Prabhupada continues, the Brahmajyoti is the beginning of the spiritual world, and beyond the Brahmajyoti are the Vaikuntha planets. In other words, the Brahmajyoti stays outside the Vaikuntha planets, just as the sunshine stays outside the sun. To enter the sun planet, one must go through the sunshine. Similarly, when the Lord or his devotees enter the Vaikuntha planets, they go through the Brahmajyoti. It's a nice analogy, it makes it very clear. You have to go through the sunshine to get to the sun, you have to go through the Brahmajyoti to get to Vaikuntha. There's a story in the Krishna book, isn't there, where Arjuna and Krishna, they travel on a chariot through the effulgence, and they get to see Lord Mahavishnu. The Jnanis, or monastic philosophers, because of their impersonal conception of the Lord, cannot enter the Vaikuntha planets, but they also cannot stay eternally in the Brahmajyoti. After some time, they fall again to this material world. Does anybody know the verse? The famous verse about how the impersonalists fall down after even if they do reach the Brahmajyoti, they fall down. Prabhupada always quotes, Aruya Krichena Padam Param Padam Tata Patan Yado Nadrati Yusmad Angreya. The second chapter of 10th canto. In a minute I will go to that verse and read it. Yeah. There's just one more verse of this purport. The Vaikuntha planets are covered by the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, one cannot properly understand what those Vaikuntha planets are unless one is a pure devotee. In other words, the effulgence is keeping the impersonalists away. Unless you're pure, you can't go through the Brahmajyoti and see what's beyond. You can't see. That's why they think the Brahmajyoti is the all-in-all. It's because they cannot see further. They're not allowed. They're covered. That's as far as they can see. Their limited vision. Okay, so we're going to read the translation of that verse. There's a big long purport to that verse as well.
What's the reference?
10:2:32. It's a famous verse. It's one of the must-learn verses. I learned it, but when I sit on the Vyasasana, I can never remember them. I get nervous and I can't remember them. Neye Ravindaksha Vimuktimaninas Trayasta Balada Vishuddha Buddhaya Haruya Krichena Parampatam Tata Patanjadoma Dritayusmad Angreya. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek the shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, so that's Prabhupada's, he's inserted that explanation or giving like the context of why the demigods say this. Lord Brahma, who is the head demigod, why he's saying that. So Prabhupada puts that in the translation. But actually the translation of the verse itself is, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerity and penance to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. Again, it's feet. So Prabhupada would talk about impersonalists, and he would say how they, even if they attain the Brahmajyoti, they perform so many austerities and a neti meditation for lifetimes, and then eventually they may get to the Brahmajyoti. But even if they get there, it's not permanent. They get out of the misery of the material world, but they do not get the real spiritual bliss. Because spiritual bliss comes from a relationship, from service, from having a loving relationship based on service with Krishna. So just getting to the Brahmajyoti is not satisfying. So eventually they fall down and they come back to the material world, and then they do mundane material things like open hospitals or feed the poor or just do mundane welfare work to get some taste, to get some rasa. Because they don't want to admit that they're a servant of Krishna, so they go through all sorts of complicated activities rather than becoming just a simple servant. It's just big, big false ego, not wanting to serve. I'll read a little bit of the purport, there's maybe 5 minutes of the class left, but just read a bit of the purport. Aside from the devotees, there are many other non-devotees known as karmis, jnanis or yogis, philanthropists, altruists, politicians, impersonalists and voidists. There are many varieties of non-devotees who have their respective ways of liberation, but simply because they do not know the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, although they falsely think they have been liberated and elevated to the highest position, they fall down, as clearly stated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Ashradadana purusha dhammasyasya parantapa aprapyama nivartante mrityu samsara vatmani. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me. O conqueror of foes, they return to birth and death in this material world. It doesn't matter whether one is a karmi, jnani, yogi, philanthropist, politician or whatever. If one has no love for the lotus feet of the Lord, one falls down. That is the verdict given by Lord Brahma in this verse. So these are the prayers of Lord Brahma, as far as I know. No, that's chapter 14, sorry. No, this is the prayers to demigods, Krishna in the womb, that's what this is. So you have to love Krishna's lotus feet. The Prabhupada gave a class yesterday morning here. The Prabhupada said, you are a servant of Krishna. If you do not serve Krishna, you will be punished. You will be punished. So the punishment is that they be so absorbed in being jnanis, impersonalists, going to the Brahma Jyoti, but they do not get the taste of Krishna's lotus feet. This is a real punishment. Is to be so averse to being a servant of Krishna. There are persons who advocate accepting any process and who say that whatever process one accepts will lead to the same goal. But that is refuted in this verse, where such persons are referred to as vimuktamanina. That's very common in Hinduism. People think, well, whatever you do, whoever you worship, it doesn't really matter. You know, we'll all end up in the spiritual world anyway. It's a very nonsense, it's very illogical. Prabhupada would smash that idea, saying that if you buy, a plane ticket to Delhi, are you going to arrive in New York? No. It's nonsense, isn't it? You know that Yatamat Tatapat? Everybody says that, everybody knows this saying. I think it was... Who? Ramakrishna, somebody like that. Some nonsense person said that whatever you do, it doesn't matter, you just, you worship somebody and you get to the same place. How can it be? Okay. So it doesn't matter, it all leads to the same goal. That is refuted, where such persons are referred to as vimuktamanina, signifying that although they think they have attained the highest perfection, in fact they have not. In the present day, big politicians all over the world think that by scheming they can occupy the highest political post, that of president or prime minister. But actually we see that even in this life, such big prime ministers, presidents and other politicians, because of non-devotees, fall down. So Prabhupada gives us a mundane example that we can relate to. We see this big prime minister, after some time. We had Bojo in the UK, Boris Johnson. He was very popular for a while, and then, of course, he was discovered to be very corrupt and saying all sorts of nonsense things, and they kicked him out. Just one of many, many, many examples. To become a prime minister or president is not easy. One must work very hard to achieve the post. And even though one may reach his goal at any minute, may be kicked down by material nature. In human society, there are so many instances in which great exalted politicians have fallen from government and become lost in historical oblivion. The cause of this is abhishuddha buddhaya, their intelligence is impure. The Shastra says, Na te vidu swata getim hi Vishnu. Does anybody know that verse? That's Prahlad. Yeah. They do not know the goal of life is Krishna. Na te vidu swata getim hi Vishnu. Their real goal is their self-interest. The real self-interest is to worship Krishna. Prabhupada was writing this purpose when he was leaving his body. Yeah? He was within a very short time of leaving his body. He was writing this such clear, absolutely crystal clear spiritual instruction. One achieves the perfection of life by becoming a devotee of Vishnu. But people do not know this. Therefore, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, people do not ultimately accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take to devotional service. They instead are attached to the impersonalism and voidism, and we must undergo great labours to achieve their goals. They must undergo great labour to achieve their goals. So impersonalism and voidism. So when we sing Prabhupada's pranams, which we do several times a day, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. We sing this every day, isn't it? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Prabhupada came to save us, save the Western countries from impersonalism and voidism. That means we suffer from impersonalism and voidism. So this is our obstacle. We're disinclined to serve the lotus feet of Krishna. We're disinclined to worship him. We're disinclined to take up our position, our constitutional position of being a servant of Krishna. This is our disease, this nirvisesha sunyavad. It's not just some Mayavadis in India somewhere, just some funny people who wear these robes and have beards and... No, it's actually, we're also contaminated by this impersonalism and the lack of regard for Krishna's lotus feet. So as Bruno very kindly pointed out, the process of Krishna consciousness, worshipping Prabhupada and reading his books and implementing his instructions is the way to purify these epine of nirvisesha sunyavad from our heart. To the Prabhupada ki jai.
Although this epine looks like soft.
Yes, it looks like something attractive.
Yeah.
I like my epine, thank you very much. They're very nice. I've been cultivating them for many lives. Now the thorn bush is growing very nicely.
You don't have nothing to do, it grows by itself.
No, you can't even remember, you have no recollection of Krishna, no idea, no memory whatsoever. That's how covered, yeah? That's how covered we are. We have no memory, absolutely no memory of who Krishna is, that we should serve him. We're so covered over. Almost like animals, isn't it? The animals are totally covered. We're... Mm-hmm.
We also don't remember that service is more sweet than be served.
Yes. It is. We have some idea of how service is sweet. You know, in the material world, taking care of others is more satisfying, actually, than taking care of ourselves. We have some idea, you know. Giving gifts to others is more pleasing than buying things for ourselves, or, you know. Serving prasadam actually is nicer than, you know, serving yourself prasadam. So it's a little bit subtle, but it is more pleasurable, yeah, to serve. Serving the cows, serving the cows is very pleasing to the heart. So once we get used to it, once we get the idea of service and how it is actually pleasing, then we can progress. And once we get over that, I don't want to clean the ladies' bathroom. I don't want to clean the ladies' bathroom. But if you do it, then you feel good. Then you feel feel purified. And the bathroom also is purified. Hare Krishna. You want to say something, Prabhu?
Yeah, so is it only our mind who don't want to do the seva sometimes?
It's a soul identifying with the material mind. Yeah. The mind is a demon, and then the soul identifies with the demon, and the demon says, no, we don't want to serve Krishna. And the soul, we don't want to serve Krishna. But it's a misidentification. That's why we need authority. That's why we need to follow the spiritual master. Spiritual master is like, don't listen to the mind, you listen to the spiritual master who gives the good instruction. You just switch channel. When you get the good instruction, then then the soul can follow the right path, not the wrong one.
Mataji, in India, as we told, all sorts of sannyasis and all sorts of ashrams, thousands of them, they follow Shiva and Ganesh and so. So what is where do they end up? And because they seem to be very pious, they have very pious lives, but they don't worship Krishna as such as we do here. So what is their response? How where do they end up? How they?
Well, there'll be some pious credits and some impious. They get some good and some bad. But if you mislead people in the name of spiritual life, if you take advantage of people's spiritual naivety and you mislead them, that's the worst crime. It's worse than killing cows.
But they don't know that they are doing the wrong thing. Like there are people like Naga Babas and different Babas, a lot of Babas in India, a lot of sannyasis, and they worship Shiva. Sometimes they don't worship, like they are Mayavadis, and then so they don't know that they are misleading. They think what they're doing is the right thing. So one sannyasi told me, ISKCON is just a cult, or you should be like Mayavadi. I said, no, I won't be.
You should be a Mayavadi.
He wanted to convert me to that. I was like, no.
He wanted you to make you his follower, probably.
He
It's
says
all
ISKCON
based.
is all toxic,
To say it bluntly, it's all based on envy of Krishna.
Because they told me he said, no, ISKCON will not allow you to do so many things. Here you come, you can do whatever you want.
Yes, exactly. This is the classic.
That's
This is
the
classic.
problem.
Just worship me, then you can do what you like. Just worship me.
That's right.
Give me donation.
You can eat
Yes.
meat.
Hare Krishna. What a classic.
You can eat meat.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about the principles. It's just worship me, accept me. I am your bogus authority, and Maya has sent me to trick you. It's all based on envy of Krishna, all of it. Envy. And it's the cheaters and the cheated. Why does Krishna provide Mayavadis, teachers? Why does people provide bogus gurus? Because people want to be cheated. People want to be cheated. Because they'd rather be cheated than be a bona fide devotee of a bona fide spiritual master. Because that's going to purify me. If I have a bogus guru, I'm not going to be, my false ego won't be challenged, be fine. I can have all the prestige of being a disciple of this big guru. My guru. But you aren't purified. You still go to the grave with probably even bigger false ego. And come back as a donkey or something. It's serious, to mislead people is very serious. It means you go to hell. If you're a bogus guru, you go to hell, and your followers go with you. If you follow somebody who's bogus, you go to hell. Hell is not fun. If you had a bus outside, bus is going to hell, who will get on it? But that's what you're doing, you're getting on a bus to hell if you follow somebody bogus. I'm speaking very bluntly because you're Indian and you can tolerate these strong statements.
No, there are so many God-men in India.
Yes.
We claim to be God.
But it's a business, you know? It's a business. It's well known that if you make yourself an incarnation of God, it's a very good source of income. You get a few followers, you know, kijai, and then the income comes, and then because you have a few followers, a few more come, and people think, well, there's so many followers, it must be good, and they go and follow as well. And it's an industry.
Yeah, that's true.
An industry. And Indian people, because they're pious, they're more liable to be cheated by bogus, because they will offer respect to saintly people. They will offer respect, and they think, oh, he looks saintly, I'll offer respect, and then they get tricked and cheated. You have to be very careful. It's a minefield, eh? Be careful. But if you're sincere, Krishna will guide you, yeah? to a bona fide source. Because there was probably more than one case, but there was one case of somebody who had been sincerely following a bogus guru before they came to Prabhupada. And they said, Prabhupada, I was serving this person, you know, what will happen because I did that? You know, Prabhupada said, no, you get the credit because you were sincerely serving. There was some credit. You know, you were trying to surrender, you were trying to serve the authority. So you got some credit for that. And because then he was able to take, actually, I was also in a bogus cult before I came. But I was praying sincerely to God, and then I ended up with one of the people there actually gave me a Bhagavad Gita. So I was able to find the right path. So it's like that. Often we're on, because there are so many wrong paths, you can, somehow or another Krishna can guide you if you really want. Krishna can reciprocate no matter what situation you're in. Krishna can give you the truth. If you really want it, you have to want it. That's the thing. The desire is a real thing. But if you want to be cheated, there's plenty of cheaters. Hare Krishna. Breakfast time. Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhupada.
Fasting time.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, breakfast time is tomorrow. Sorry.
You can continue.
Breakfast time for those who can't control their tongues. The brahmacharis have got to fast. Yeah.
Service time.
Service time. Sorry. Mistake. I suppose some people always fast on the Ekadashi anyway, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. If you can.
If we just abstain from grain